Barakate Hawa, Barakate Hawa Shai, Barakate Hawa, Barakate Hawa Shai, Kal Halalam La, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone and the bishops who teach well and rule well as examples to the flock. Peace and citations to the Achamodia pushing his word in all sincerity and all truth. And to the rest of the believers, men, women, and children, Shalom. This lesson is going to be entitled, The Lord Delivered His Men from the Tempest, which is Hurricane Melissa. The Lord delivered his men from the tempest, which is Hurricane Melissa. Now, everybody would have known, unless you're living under a rock, that a major hurricane just passed through the island of Jamaica and also is passing through or has passed through Cuba. And I believe it's going to also pass through the Bahamas. But this lesson is going to be a short lesson, to just show, the Lord knows how to deliver his elect, his men, his beloved out of, tribulation. So we're going to start here in Psalm 91, verse 1. He that dwelleth in the sacred place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Right? He shall be thy shield and thy buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid of the terror by night, nor the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy right side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwellings. For he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, and lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. And this experience, with this very, very devastating hurricane is another experience that strengthens my faith, and I believe all the brothers' faith, in Jamaica. Now, there's a particular tweet that I saw, that I wanted to bring out, right? And I made sure to bookmark it when I saw it at the time, because I knew, through the Spirit that I had to do a lesson on it, So it was posted, forget when it was posted. It was posted the 27th, which is, 27th was when? I can't remember when it was the 27th, right? But it was posted the 27th. Today is the 30th, which is Thursday. So yesterday was Wednesday, so that was Monday, right? So it said, I'm honestly at a loss for words right now. Category 5 Melissa keeps drifting farther west. The eye is now clearly outside the National Hurricane Center's forecast cone, which was issued 1 hour ago. Right? Listen to this. The storm is defying every environmental factor, pulling it north. It's baffling. It's also getting stronger, which is wild considering it's already pushing the limits of physics for how intense a hurricane can get. It may even be overpowering the trough that's trying to steer it north, right? And the reason that I bring that out is because this was the original, right? Let me make it load up. This was the original forecast, right? Come on. Let me try to bring it back up. Where is it? No, that's not it. Bear with me a second here. Bear with me a second here. It was not on Instagram. So many fucking Instagram posts. Right? I believe this one shows it, right? So this was for Saturday, right? I believe this was the original. This was the original forecast, right? The original forecast showed it coming into Kingston, Let me see if I can find a clear one that I had before. Right? I believe this is a clear one. Right? Alright, so if you can see in that one, alright, let me get another clearer one. So I just need to, I wanted to find back the one that I had before. Right. So if you can see, this was one of the original forecasts from the National Hurricane Center, and it showed the storm going through the center, very close to Kingston, right? Very close to Kingston and to the west. And here in Jamaica, you have two GMS camps, two Great Millstone camps. You have a camp in Kingston, GMS Kingston camp, which I'm a part of, right? And then you have the Portland camp, right? GMS Jamaica, which is the original GMS camp, which also I was and consider myself still a part of, because that's where I grew up. I moved to Kingston later on, but I still visit the camp regularly because I also have family over there, right? But needless to say, those are the two camps, right? Portland is in the east, right? And Kingston is in the southeast. And the original trajectory of the storm, right, had it coming in directly to Kingston, right? This is another one that shows it very well, right? Let me get it back up. Where the hell did it go? I just had it right there. Where the hell did it go? So this is the type of thing I can't deal with these fucking things, Alright, because that one a while ago showed it perfectly. Alright? It showed it coming right into Kingston. Bear me here, let me just find back another one. And I should have taken a screenshot of it. And I can't even find back that one that I was trying to open a while ago. Yeah, devil is being the devil. Yeah, this one also shows it too, coming into the center, right? And if I go back to the post here, it's saying, specifically the second paragraph here, it says, the storm is defying every environmental factor trying to pull it north, right? It may even be overpouring the trough that's trying to steer it north. And the reason why I highlight that is because the original trajectory was for it to turn north and go and hit right into Kingston. And if it had hit right into Kingston, Kingston would be devastated, right? It would also have had serious impacts on the east, which where the other GMS camp is, right? But the Lord had it that it didn't. Yeah, this one is great, This one is great. Yeah, there we go, perfect, right? This was one of the original trajectories coming right into Kingston. But if you know what about the how it made landfall, because it kept drifting, right? Hurricane Melissa. Let me show you where it hit instead. Hurricane Melissa, point of impact in Jamaica, right? So the point of impact instead was a lot further west. Here's the point of impact, right? So you can see here where Kingston is all the way to the east, and then Portland is even further to the tip of the eastern Jamaica. And here, this is where it hit, right? This is where it hit all the way over in the west. So the weather person that was saying this here, he was saying that it's defying every environmental factor trying to pull it north. They were saying it's baffling. Why is it drifting so far west before coming up? Because like I said, it was supposed to come right up through Kingston, right? And if you see any of the videos or the images of the destruction that took place on the western half of the island, you will see why I say the Lord spared, right, his men from this. Because if this had hit in Kingston, right, then Kingston would be devastated, and also the Eastern Coast brothers, in Portland, which is not far from Kingston, because it's just a 2-hour drive, right, would have felt it too, right, would have been devastated too, right. Let's get another precept here. Right, this is Isaiah 4 verse 6, and there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from storm and from rain. Right, so it's the prayers, that brothers sent up, both the brothers here in Jamaica and the brothers overseas who were praying, for the Lord to deliver his men. And that's what happened. The Lord literally pushed the storm further west than where it should have come up, and let it come up in western Jamaica, because the Lord still wanted to judge Jamaica, right? And it came up on the west. Whether this was because you have some people saying it was a man-made thing, whether it was a man-made thing or not, the Lord delivered his men. And the Lord allowed the judgment to still take place, but he delivered his men, right? Now, while looking this up, there was something else interesting that I found, right? I looked up the root for the word hurricane, right? So I asked, what is the root of the word hurricane? The word hurricane comes from the Spanish word huracan, which Spanish colonizers borrowed from the Taino people of the Caribbean. The Taino use words like huracan or huracan to refer to their storm god or evil spirit associated with destructive weather. Some linguists trace it even further back to the Mayan god Hunrakan, meaning one-legged, a deity associated with wind, storm, and fire. Right? The word traveled from indigenous Caribbean and Central American languages into Spanish and then into English in the 16th century as European explorers encountered these massive tropical storms in the Americas. And that reminded me of this precept here, right? This is in the KJV, right, in the Apocrypha, right, Wisdom of Solomon, I believe it's chapter 13, verse 1. Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of God, and who could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is, neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind or swift air or the circle of the stars or the violent water or the lights of the heavens to be gods which govern the world, with whose beauty if they delighted took them to be gods. Let them know how much better the Lord of them is. The first author of beauty hath created them. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionally the maker of them is seen. Right? So they saw these people, even know, because that's what I wanted to bring out also, even know people without knowing it or actually knowing it, they deify, right, these storms. Right? So I asked the question, could the naming of the storms and hurricanes by meteorologists today be tied to the deification of these storms? That's an interesting connection to consider, but the modern practice of naming storms isn't really linked to the ancient deification of hurricanes. So it says pretty much no, but it mentioned a good point here, because the chat won't always see spiritual connections. But this here is important, right? It says, the last paragraph, that said, the fact that we personify, let's look up that word, right? The word personify means to represent by a figure in human form, right? So we humanize, we personify. The fact that we personify these storms at all by giving them human names does create an interesting psychological effect, making them feel more like distinct entities or correct characters in a narrative, which might unconsciously echo older human impulse to personify natural forces. So if you even like analyze how people talk about the storms, especially the one that came, Melissa. Right? People literally talk about it as an entity and say, she did this, she did this. Why she not hurry up and come? Why she not hurry up and leave? Because it was taking a while to come. It was moving very slowly. Right? And then some people say, I'm not afraid of her, or some people say, I'm afraid of her. So it literally communicates as if it's an entity. Right? So I just wanted to bring that out, It's like, people, they find these storms, but ultimately it's the Lord that's bringing them. Isaiah 29:6, thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and with great noise and with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. As we just read in Wisdom of Solomon 13, the Lord is the author of them all. The Lord is the workmaster, right? But even right now, right, the word, like I said, the word hurricane, it goes back to a Taino and Mayan god of wind and destruction, right? We calling it that today and also personifying the storms by giving them names, right, is also a form of deification and worshiping them, So, yeah, just wanted to bring that out, the Lord delivering, his men, from the tempest, and also, the root of the word hurricane, right? Shalom.